So welcome everyone once again back to the Wheelie Good Podcast. Today, someone was going to lose, and someone did lose. We have stage number...
How many times are we going to drag this pun through the dirt?
We have stage number 11, Toulouse, and it was one for the history books, I might say.
It certainly was. I mean, we've seen drama, we've seen action, we've seen a surprise winner, and we've seen a Slovenian GC favourite hit the deck. All that to come.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was a short stage today, starting in Toulouse, finishing in Toulouse, of course. And it's not a long one. 156.8 kilometres. We're off the back of a rest day as well.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a chance probably for some of the breakaway riders, especially given the fact that the rest of this week is just mountain stages,
Yes.
to get themselves into the move. And a lot of riders did try to do that.
Oh, yeah.
And we had, we started off with a group of 3. And in the end, they ended up going all the way. This is Jonas Abrahamsen, Davide Ballerini and Mauro Schmid. Later on, they were joined by Fred Wright and Mathieu Van Der Poel. But over the top, between the first climb and the sprint, we started seeing counter-accelerations. And eventually, a very, very good group got away.
Oh, yeah. We saw the likes of Mathieu Van Der Poel, the man himself. We saw Wout Van Aert. I think, was he the guy? He was the guy I picked for the stage one, if I'm not mistaken. And Arnaud Lee as well, which I think someone might be happy about. And a couple others that I don't fully remember.
Yeah, so Axel Laurence was in there for Ineos Grenadiers. He was under 23 world champion a couple of years ago on a really punchy Glasgow course. So this is the kind of stage that suits him and the kind of final climbs. You also had Quinn Simmons in the group as well. I'm trying to rack my brains for who else was in it. It was literally just a who's who of elite riders.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a very good group, but again, it was only 5 riders. There was a brief attempt from Movistar to get across. A couple of the teams like Israel Premier Tech, Cofidis, FDJ missed it. Despite trying to get riders in the moves, they just weren't in the correct breakaway groups.
Yep.
And over the sprint line, most of the points went to the breakaway. Jonas Abrahamsen sprinted ahead of Davide Ballerini to take 20 points. And the battle was on, for some reason, for 4 points. And in the end, Jonathan Milan must be listening to this podcast. Hello, Jonathan. Because we were saying he's got to take every possible point he can get to make sure that Tadej Pogacar is not interested. And he sprinted for a grand total of 4 points.
Let's go, my fantasy
team. And he got them.
Beautiful, you love to see it. Apparently, also the commentators, the Danish commentators, mentioned that you actually do get like around, I think, $1,000 for winning an immediate sprint, which that's pretty good. I didn't even know it was that much.
Well, Jonas Abrahamsen was the man racking up the prize money early on because he took the first climb and took the intermediate sprint. Then Fred Wright and Mathieu Van Der Poel managed to bridge to the leading group, and Wright took the rest of the climbs until the final 2, which is good for Lenny Martinez's King of the Mountains jersey, but I don't think Jonas Abrahamsen's really too interested in that.
Nah.
And you had this super interesting situation where the Peloton was within 3 minutes with sort of 40, 50 kilometres to go, so could bring it back if they really wanted to. And you had the elite group away, but for some reason and somehow they were working super well together at the front 5, because they were holding a very talented 5-rider breakaway group behind, and they weren't gaining approaching the final 2 climbs.
Yeah, I mean, if you hear that at least just the 2, Wout Van Aert and Van Der Poel, are chasing you, you know that you gotta pick up the pace, because those 2, they're relentless.
I think, if the second group had caught them, you had Van Der Poel, you had Laurence, you had Van Aert, of course, you had Quinn Simmons, which were all probably better punchers. Mauro Schmid, no mug on a steep, short climb. But I think all of those being fresher, are better punchers than every rider in the breakaway. And Arnaud Delis was third at the last sprint stage. So if it comes down to a sprint, you're not winning that either if you're any of the front five.
For sure.
So I think they all kind of realised that the only way they're going to win this stage is by going away on the front and sprinting it out as a 5. In the end, though, it was a battle to see who had the strongest legs, because on the penultimate climb, things started to show. Jonas Abrahamsen was the first rider over the top. But what mattered was the final climb of the day, the Côte de Pêche David. And I think we underestimated this climb on the preview podcast that we did, because it's 0.8 kilometers, it's 9.8%. But the first half, I was hearing on commentary, it gets up to 21%.
21?
Which is far too heavy for the sprinters.
Damn, yeah, that's true. I mean, I played it in the game, and in the game, it is a really good climb as well. But 21, yeah, that's a little too steep for someone like Milan. And Merlier's like, no. He looked at that climb and was like, nah, I would not care whatsoever.
There was a great part of the stage where the camera flicked to Merlier just after the intermediate sprint, just sat at the back, and he looked across like, what are these guys going for, man? It was like the most Tim Merlier thing I've ever seen. But no, that was the climb that forced the gaps. Abrahamsen and Schmid had found themselves off the front after attacking the previous climb. So it was just those two that got to the foot, and they worked really well together. Meanwhile, behind, you had Fred Wright and Mathieu Bergadeau slightly dropped. Davide Ballerini was completely off the back. He looked like he was blowing his doors off for the final sort of 75 kilometres of the stage. So he was the first one to be dropped. You had Wright and Bergadeau in a chase, but they had been dropped by Abrahamsen and Schmid, so weren't going to win the stage, which meant it was Abrahamsen and Schmid versus the chasing group, and it was soon to be the chasing rider, because there was a massive attack.
First off, it was Quinn Simmons attacking. Was that also the final climb? I'm not sure. Or the penultimate?
That was the penultimate one. Yeah.
Right. And then Van Der Poel attacking fully, and he gets the big gap. And it gets to the point where seemingly you would believe in this situation with the amount of time he had, which was like at one point, I guess like 2015. I don't know what it ended up being at the end, but quite low with the kilometers to go. In that position, you would see Van Der Poel catch two riders, especially since you would see them, playing a tactical. But I think what saved both Abrahamsen and Schmidt was that they decided clearly to work together until the line. Because if they had started doing a tactical early on, it would have been curtains for both of them. So yeah.
Yeah, I think both of them, once they were over the final climb, thought they could beat each other in a sprint, which I think helped them work well with each other together. And in the end, it was pretty close. So I think they were both right to take it to a sprint. Unfortunately for Mathieu Van Der Poel, that meant that they just about kept him at bay. And in the end, Van Der Poel has to settle for third, 7 seconds behind. But it comes down to a sprint between Abrahamsen and Schmid. Schmid has to lead this one out from 1 kilometre to go. And I think this was where the stage was won. Abrahamsen did not take another pull from 1 kilometre to the finish line. Schmid just willingly took Jonas Abrahamsen to the line, probably looking at Van Der Poel behind, but Abrahamsen played it tactically correct. However, if they were caught, Abrahamsen would have been slated by everybody. Schmid, his team, the experts, it would have been awful. But he got it right this time, because out of the wheel he came with Mauro Schmid and won it by about a wheel's length on the line, although didn't know it at the time, which I think says a lot about the I was going to say atrocity, it's not that. Oh my god, what's the word? I've actually lost the word. Attrition. Close to atrocity. Right. Which says a lot about the attrition of the stage. There was incredible amounts of lactic acid probably in both their legs and Van Der Poel's. But I was convinced that Van Der Poel was making it across at one point.
Same.
In the end, didn't make it, settles for third. But what did you think of the sprint?
I thought it was, well played by Abrahamsen. Of course, I have a soft spot. A Scandinavian team, Norway. I have a soft spot for it, so I was rooting for Abrahamsen to go all the way. And I think he was about to sprint at the end, but Schmidt started sprinting right before that, which led into a perfect lead out. And if he hadn't played it that way, it seemed that Schmidt would have a little bit more in the tank. But the lead he takes at the end, I think, is what did the final difference. We're talking not even a wheel. We're talking like a little less than half a wheel, quarter of a wheel maybe. So, yes, I'm happy, definitely happy with the result.
Yeah, Abrahamsen takes Uno X's first ever Grand Tour victory. Mauro Schmid had a victory in the Giro d'Italia a couple of years ago, but is still waiting for his first Tour de France win in second. Van der Poel third, 7 seconds. And then you had the sprint from the rest of the breakaway riders, apart from Ballerini, who'd been dropped at this point. Arnaud Delis wins that after shoulder checking Fred Wright. I think he was just shattered and did a little move that turned into a massive move. So I wonder whether the UCI might have a look at that. I think they should just allow it. And because Wright didn't complain about it in either of the 3 interviews I've seen after the stage from him to British media. So I don't think he'll be punished, but Delis finishes 4th ahead of Van Aert in the sprint with Laurent, Wright, Bergerdo and Simmons all at 53 seconds as well. Then comes Ballerini, and then comes the GC group, who on paper, you look at this and think, oh, nothing's happened this stage. It's a fairly simple, punchy sprint stage that's gone to the breakaway. That's totally correct, Lucas, isn't it?
Totally correct. It was just a very chilled stage. Nothing really happened, except for a little Slovenian hitting the ground. And seemingly, well, I've seen some debate whether it was his fault or not. It seems that it was, we had Pogacar behind, we had Tobias Johannesson in front of him, and Jørgensen from Visma Laser Bike in front of Johannesson. Jørgensen goes to the right, and Johannesson tries to follow, but in following, he hits Tadej's front wheel with his back wheel, which causes him, with the high speeds, to just, of course, crash out, and thankfully not damage himself too badly. It could have been a lot worse with the, the corner. He almost hit his head on a, what's it called?
Like a bollard, yeah.
Yeah, basically, which thankfully he didn't. But it seemed like he ripped up part of his hip. And it didn't look too bad. He also said on the radio he was okay, but of course I think he has to say that. But it didn't look as bad as it could have been, at least.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of events that led to this crash. When you look back at the stage, there was an instance in the middle of the stage when Jonas Vingegaard and Ben Healy went on a 2-up attack to try and get to the Van der Poel Van Aert group, and that put Pogacar in trouble, and it was actually Remco Evenepoel that chased it down. So Pogacar kind of got away with that, but that was the first big throw of the dice from Jonas Vingegaard that we've seen at this tour. And interesting that Ben Healy followed it and worked with Jonas Vingegaard to try and get across to the group. Would have been super interesting to see what happened if they made it to the 5 riders in the chase, with Van Aert there too. But that was the first attack, and that was the first sign that Visma were trying to cook something up. And then on the final climb, we saw a secondary attack from Jonas Vingegaard, who was on a lot of... he was on good form over the top of the Côte de Pêche David. And it was Remco Evenepoel in the wheel again. Pogacar, you usually see snap onto this. And it didn't seem like it.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like when Jørgensen first attacked on the climb, he followed that straight away. Now, I'm not sure why he didn't follow Jonas straight away. To be fair, it didn't seem like... It almost seemed like just a nonchalant attack. Like, it didn't seem like there was much purpose in it, aside from just, I don't know, like showing that he's got it, or just doing it for the sake of it. Because he attacked over the climb. What was he supposed to do after then? Because, like, what's the plan after that? He wouldn't be going solo. That just wouldn't happen. And basically, Remco would end up, even if he got the gap, Remco would end up working with Tadej at least. So, and with the kilometers left, like, so I'm not entirely sure why. I think it was just more of an attack to do it. Like he's mentioned before in Dauphiné, he just felt good and wanted to do it. But yeah, at least it's nice to see that he feels good.
No, yeah, I agree with that point. I think tactically it wasn't the best time to attack because, of course, you've got the flat section, and if you took Remco with him, then maybe. But I don't think you can bargain on that happening. But it showed that Pogacar, with the Jorgensen attacks having to follow as well, it showed that he was in a little bit of trouble, I think. And this is the first time I've properly seen a lapse in concentration from Tadej in a situation like that. You never see him on the ground.
Oh, no.
He always finds a way to be clear of the crashes. And I think that says a lot about his racecraft and his intelligence and his bike handling to keep it up.
Yep.
This is the first time I've seen a proper lapse in concentration, and I don't think it's all his fault.
Oh, no.
Johannesson did swing across the road to try and get to the wheel of Vauquelin, I think, who was attacking on the right-hand side. And that's the sort of GC battle that he's getting involved in.
Oh, yeah.
But at that moment, the whole peloton was going right, and Pogacar just kept going straight. And I think a Pogacar that has less lactic acid in the legs and doesn't have to follow all these attacks probably has enough racecraft to understand where the peloton's going and react to the situation.
Yep.
So I think it's not 100% on Johannesson. I think Pogacar has to take some blame, but it's interesting to see a lapse in concentration, probably for the first time for me, from Tadej Pogacar.
Yeah. I saw someone, don't quote me on this, I saw someone mention that he was on the radio while it happened, which maybe he was thinking of other things or talking to someone, which could also add into it. But yeah, definitely the lactic acid, and just, I mean, after, this was a really hard stage considering the profile. And mentally you'll be tired, which means mentally you will have less, like your reaction time slows down and your awareness slows down, which both Tadej's but also Johannesson's might have, maybe you should have looked behind before you turned right, whatever, that's difficult to say. But all that thing slows down at the end since they're also tired, which also increases the risk of crashing. And I think if it was early on to the stage, I don't think it would have happened, because I think everyone would be aware enough for it not to happen. But yeah, it's just a mishap on everyone's part.
Yeah, I think from what I've gathered on the post-race interviews as well with Johannesson and not necessarily Pogacar, but some of Pogacar's team, by the sounds of it, Johannesson was sorry for the incident, which clearly indicates some blame on his part. But Pogacar also wasn't like raging that Johannesson had taken him out. So I think it's very much a 50-50 incident, and I think both of those riders know that. But it does put Pogacar in an interesting position now, because how will he heal? There was clear road rash and a little bit of rips in his jersey shorts on his left side of the hip where he landed pretty hard, but not so fast. It was at a time when the attack was just happening rather than when the attack was in full flow. So there's a lot of question marks, I think, about his status, and we will find out a lot, I think, tomorrow on the Autogram.
Yeah, I have one question though, because the teams at the front after the Pogacar crash, they all ended up eventually deciding they would wait for him. You know, cycling etiquette and stuff. Do you think in this kind of situation that is the right thing to do, or do you think it would be okay to be like race or crashes are part of it and we can keep pacing like we were going to do anyways?
There was a brief moment where the camera motorbike flicked the front of the peloton after the Pogacar incident, and the group had swelled because of the crash, I think, and the slowing and the persistent attacks from the likes of Vauquelin. But on the front, you saw, I think it was one of Schachmann or Ilan van Wilder for Soudal Quick-Step trying to rip it. And I think that was when the call was put in of, come on, guys. And I wonder whether it was a mix of both Healy looking to try and gain some credit in the peloton. You know, it's his first time in the yellow jersey. Yeah. He might be pretty new, and in the end, it's usually the yellow jersey that decides what happens in these situations. But I definitely think Visma Lease Bike had a word, because at the end of the day, do you want to risk your reputation in the peloton for 10 seconds, probably max on the road? I think it was Visma's decision that they passed on to Healy, who was used as a kind of mouthpiece to let everybody know that they were going to wait up. And I think it was the right decision, to be honest, because at the end of the day, you're pacing for not much time, and it's going to look quite bad on you, I think, if you went to the line without Pogacar in your group.
For sure. And I mean, we've seen it before. We saw it, I don't know how many, was it 2 or 3 years ago when Jonas won the Tour and Tadej crashed in the descent. He waited for him. So even just personality-wise, I'd see it happening if Jonas, of course, would not want to do anything here or keep the pace up. And the commentators also mentioned that, well, the Danish ones anyways, that the Tour shouldn't be decided in such a way, with all things considered. So all things considered, I also think it's definitely the right choice to not force anything.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about the previous tours is that you've not had incidents where Jonas or Tadej have crashed out. It's been a pretty fair fight between both of them for almost all of their tour battles. And you don't really want to risk that happening again, or that's happening differently this year. You want to see it won on the road, and I still think that will be the case. But I also think that this has become a lot more interesting of a battle for the lead now. That Pogacar might be recovering from a little bit of road rash. Yeah,
and I think your bet at the preview podcast about the flat stages being probably the most interesting is that is really paying off. I don't remember the last tour where so many of the flat stages have been this interesting to watch. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you've had individually, you've had better flat stages in the past, but as a group, I think these have been very good to watch. And who would be a man to tier list all of the Tour de France stages based on entertainment value? There's clearly content in there for somebody somewhere, but it would be very difficult to rank the flat stages because they've all been good in their own specific ways, and you've had different storylines coming from all of them. And the Pogacar crash is probably the latest one of these, and I wouldn't be surprised if Paris throws up another random little story. Hopefully mine about the breakaway coming to the line, but I don't think it will be that. Either way, I'm just looking through the results now to see if any of the GC guys fell behind. I certainly saw Skjelmose towards the back. He actually did lose a lot of time today. He's finished over 9 minutes down on the lead, and he looked in trouble for a good part of the stage. He was definitely pictured towards the back on the second to last climb, but he's the only guy I think from the top 15 that have lost time on today's stage. So everything kind of stays as it is in GC, with Healy retaining the yellow jersey for another day and attacking in the yellow jersey, which I think is good for Healy, because I was worried that he'd kind of go into his shell a bit. Yeah,
it's good to see that he hasn't lost the attacking sense.
I've got a question to you
go on.
About Healy, because I was listening to EF's rest day press conference, and they had Jonathan Vaughters, who's the team director, and Healy. Healy, for most of the interview, spoke first. And he constantly was saying, I'm not putting any pressure on myself. I'm not putting any pressure on how I perform. I've got the yellow jersey. I'm happy with it. I've got the stage win. I'm happy with that. I don't really want to put any more pressure on myself. And then they went to Vaughters, who said, can he finish in the top 10 on GC? Absolutely. Can he finish in the top 5 on GC? I reckon he could. And it was like, whoa. Dude.
Whoa. Let's chill out.
Do you think he could hold his advantage for a top 5?
No.
There we are.
No, that's it's not happening. I'm sorry, it's just not happening. Let's just list some of the names here. Tadej Pogacar finishes above. Vingegaard finishes above. Evenepoel finishes above. Jorgensen finishes above. And then that's already 4. So whatever Wout only Lipovic, Roglic, one of them is going to finish above him as well. So top 5 is a no-go.
Give me one of Lipovic and Roglic over Ben Healy, even with 3.5 minutes down.
Yes.
Both of them. Yeah. And that was pretty much the summary of the stage. GC stays the same, of course. White jersey classification stays the same. Majoritively, all of the top 7 are still the same. Mathieu Van Der Poel, thanks to his breakaway, moves up to third in the points jersey and his third on the stage. But he is well behind Jonathan Milan, although does move slightly closer. So it's Milan on 231, Pogacar on 163, Van Der Poel on 156. I think Van Der Poel's too far back, I'm afraid, to go for it. And Pogacar's the only rider that can throw a surprise. But again, how will the crash affect Pogacar's green jersey hopes? Surely this gives Milan a bit of positive hope.
Yeah, it might. It might. I mean, I guess we'll see tomorrow how he's feeling. I mean, the thing is, it does. Only it didn't look too bad. I've said that before, but it's still gonna affect him to a certain degree, because it's gonna hurt, whatever he likes or not. How much it's gonna affect him, we don't know. But we do know, like something like a fact, like of course, pain gets the heart rate further up, which could be a little bit of trouble, and just in general, treading and stuff is gonna use up more energy. Hopefully, not anything to like decide the tour, but.
Indeed. With the stage victory, actually, Jonas Abrahamsen moves up to 7th, which I think says a lot about how little sprinters are interested in the points jersey, and also tells Anthony Turgis of Total Energy, get in the breakaway. Go and get some points. This is your opportunity now in the mountain stages to gain on the likes of Merlier and Guillemot, and the top 3 actually in points is probably quite big for Total Energy and for Anthony Turgis. So now's his opportunity to really, really gain some points. In the King of the Mountains classification, Lenny Martinez still leads, and it's pretty simple. Your top 11 stays exactly the same. Jonas Abrahamsen moves on to 4 points, which moves him above the likes of Stora and Jonas Vingegaard. But again, Lenny Martinez should have that jersey for another day at least.
Unless Tim Wellens decides, no, it's time.
Unless Tadej Pogacar paces for the Tim Wellens KOM jersey.
Leads him out.
So you mentioned flat stages being more entertaining, or very entertaining, should I say. What would you rate this stage out of 10 then?
I think, especially, I mostly watched like the final 20 kilometers because I wasn't home. But the fact that they were like cutting back and forth and like, we gotta get back here, we gotta go up there all the time. The final part of the race that I watched was really high in entertainment value. Like I couldn't look away. I was trying to do something else, but I couldn't. I can't judge the previous part of the stage because, like I said, I wasn't home. But I think this one could even like the stage one as well. Maybe some more GC, but can't get everything. I could like 8. I think 8.5 for the 2.
I'd give it an 8.5. I think the breakaway battle at the start was super dull. You only had those 3 riders at the front, and interestingly enough, Astana were blocking it. And if they kept blocking it, this trio would not have made it. So thankfully for them, they had a chase group come across. But the caliber of riders in the breakaway: Van Der Poel, Van Aert, Laurence, Fred Wright, etc., Quinn Simmons as well, and Abrahamsen. These were good riders in the breakaway. It felt a lot like a last chance saloon for them before the mountain stages to get a win. So you had that kind of increased drama because of it, I think. And the stage itself was a banger. Like, the finish of the stage was superb. And honestly, the finish of the stage, I'd give a 9. The start of the stage, I'd probably give like a 7.5. So yeah, 8.5 is all right for me.
Sounds good. Yeah. But how did this affect your fantasy team, though? Is the real kicker, the real question we're all wondering. Because
there was a brief time where I had a couple of riders in the breakaway. Aurélien Paripantra tried to get into moves. Schroins tried to get into moves, which was nice. But in the end, the rider that got into the moves for me was Arnaud Delis. If only I'd made him captain, because Jonathan Milan was my captain for today.
Yeah,
and he was yours too as well.
Yeah, also mine. This wasn't a great day in the office, to be honest. Vingegaard, Milan only all picking up a couple points. Fred Wright though in the breakaway, my savior for today, 159 points. Whew. And then Lignason, Abidal, I guess they tried early on with like part of the breakaway, but then end up making it. And Lipowitz as well getting some points. So it could be worse, but it wasn't great.
I'm pretty happy with my results at the end of today's stage. A couple of my guys were getting involved in the sprint from the Peloton. Of course, we've already discussed, for me, Arnaud Delis got 120 points, which is nice. Jonathan Milan, captain, gets me 60. Evenepoel gets me 71. Lenny Martinez gets me 40 points for his King of the Mountains lead. Thank you very much, Lenny. Pavel Bittner on 10, Pari Pancher on 7. Schroen's on 3. And finally, Simone Velasco, the rider who has been the worst guy on my team so far, goes and finishes 15th on today's stage, picks up 5 UCI points for Astana, but more importantly, picks up 36 points for the team, which moves me on to 347.
More important.
I don't think it was a high-scoring day for many people today.
Yeah, probably not. But tomorrow we get into the real mountains. Are you going to make any transfers? Because I will.
I think I also will, to be honest with you. Looking at the team, my 2 sprinters, Arnaud Delis and Pavel Bittner, especially Delis after his breakaway fiasco today, I will wave you goodbye on a high note, I think. Now is the time to go. Pavel Bittner probably as well, and it's time to switch to the climbing team. I might keep Milan just because he's super expensive though. I was about to say, but he is a guarantee to get sprint points.
I was about to say I'm selling Milan.
Yeah.
He's going for me. He is going, he's gone. There he is. It has been made. And I'm not sure who I'm going to choose yet. I'll figure it out eventually, but that man's gone.
That could be a little cliffhanger for the next episode, who we bring in.
Oh, yes.
Leave the audience waiting. And if you've got any suggestions, write them in the comments.
Indeed.
So, on to the next stage then, because we do go into the mountains, and we have a HC Summit finish. Autocam. It is we've been saying it for a while. Is this the first proper mountain stage? Is stage 10 the first? This is the first proper mountain stage.
This is it.
Up to Autocam. Yeah. And what do you reckon of the stage?
I am hoping for some explosive action. I'm hoping Visma already do something on the first category 1, called the Solod, or how you pronounce it. Maybe even try something there already with Jorgensen if they want to. They definitely will be putting a couple guys in the breakaway. We know Visma by now. They're going to try and create some magic. And they're definitely, I think fireworks are going to happen on the final climb. If no one escaped fully, we still have, Jorgensen, Tadej, Remco, Vingegaard. Attacks are going to happen. And someone is going to lose time. And not just a couple of seconds. I'm talking someone's going to lose a minute. That's my bet. One of those 4 losing a minute.
Yeah, Autocam, 13.5 kilometers, 7.9% average. It's steeper in the second half slightly than it is in the first. So it's going to be difficult on the legs. Autocam, we'll see if Visma Lease Bike Auto can put pain into Tadej Pogacar's legs. And before those climbs, you've got the Category 2 Col de Bordeaux, 3.3 kilometers, 8.1%, and the Category 1 Col de Soulor, 11.8 kilometers, 7.6%. With it being so up and down towards the end of the stage, do you see Visma taking this one up from afar?
Yes, I think so. Whatever who they're gonna go with. I mean, I think they'll go with the same recipe of trying something with Jorgensen, keeping the attacks going. They definitely want to keep him on the final climb within the group, so that he can do something there. Maybe even on the flat, because there's a little flat section before the autocamp begins. And attacking on the flat will do more damage if he does end up getting away for Tadej to chase down. And they just I think they want to isolate Tadej as much as possible. Have as little team as as few teammates as possible at the end. So they might even put guys in breakaway and also pace in the Peloton. Although who knows? Maybe the UAE will do it for him. But yes, I'm seeing flames early on, and Visma here to take the jersey.
Yeah, I can see that happening. Visma perhaps changing. I didn't see them circling this stage in particular pre-Tour de France, but now I think you've got to circle it.
For sure. They got to test it. They got to see what they can do here, without a doubt.
Jonathan Milan, I think, is also going to sneak into the breakaway, which is really making me want to keep him, because an intermediate sprint which he can feasibly get to.
That's true.
At Benjonk, about 90 kilometres into the stage. It's also 180.6 kilometres for a mountain stage. Pretty long day in the saddle.
Yep.
And a chance for more mental warfare from Visma Lease bike on Tadej Pogacar. I think now's the time to make that difference, test the legs for the first time, and potentially see if he's got it or if he's not, based on his recovery at the end of today.
Indeed.
But who do you see winning? I think it's an obvious answer.
Jonas Vingegaard. He's winning. He's taking 5 minutes. No, I just see him winning.
What do you think the gap is? Do you think he gaps Pogacar?
I must say a good. I think he gaps him, but not by much. I think Tadej drops near the end, trying to keep up with him, and his legs just give up. But Jonas also is about like on the very brink, and then I see him gaining a good 10-12 seconds.
If you're looking at some of the breakaway riders, Lenny Martinez was kept his cards close to his chest. He was rolling in with the sprinters at the end of today. Other climbers that are in that group, because that's usually who you see doing the breakaway. Santiago Buitrago, keep an eye on him for the break. Pablo Castrillo, Lukas Plays fantasy team legend, quite frankly. Leonard Van Eetveld, but he's had a bad tour, so just don't expect to see him. Ina Rubio gave it a brief go on today's stage, but didn't have it. And Michael Storer actually was towards the back as well, so keep an eye on him to go in the breakaway. I don't think it goes to a breakaway. I think Visma torch it from the foot.
Yeah.
But you've gone for Jonas Vingegaard, so I feel like I have to be contrarian. So I'm going to go for... this is difficult. I'm going to go... Do you know what? Lenny Martinez from the breakaway. Why not? For my fantasy team.
Valid. I might buy him at this point. I might sneak him into my team.
I feel like I'm his agent, just advertising it now.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is all for today. Hopefully tomorrow can live up to the expectations that we have put on it.
Yes.
And we'll see you all for the next stage.
Indeed. Peace.